republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moment of silence, please. Thank you.
Alderwoman Calderon. Here. Alderman Brickner.
Here.
Alderman Fire.
Here.
Alderwoman Fliss.
Here.
And Alderman Damon and Waterwa are excused this evening. The meeting has also been properly posted and noticed.
Telephonic meeting participation, none. Public hearing, change of zoning, Hidden Pond condominiums plat is going to reconvene from when it was adjourned from October 5th, 2021. This is a notice of a public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Please come up and state your name, please, and your address. And you're going to have 5 minutes max, sir.
Joe Hayes, 2672 Hidden Drive. Actually, Attorney Haggerty, do you by chance have a front view, elevation view of the new properties? How they would look?
I do, and the other diesel I bought didn't have things on it, so I can set it up here.
The reason I ask about the different view is that I'm kind of one of those feng shui, things got to balance, got to flow, everything's got to be even kind of guy. What we currently have along the north end is all of our existing units. Classic 4-unit, 2 up, 2 down. Building 7 and Building 8 are the new design proposed, which are called side-by-side duplexes, 4-unit. If you look at it, you're going to see 6 old buildings and then 2 new buildings. It's not going to look right. It's not going to help. You're shaking your head, sir?
No, there's actually,
I'll stand up here. I'm really referring to Building 7 and Building 8.
so these are 4 units, this one, and this one are all 4 units.
But they're proposed 2-story, 2 units with duplex. No, side-by-side duplex.
No, these are all 4s, these are all 2s.
So these are in the classically built?
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. That's, the confusion was, I was reading these notes, it says proposed side-by-side duplexes, 2-story units with a firewall in between, and they're pointing to this.
Yeah, I think this was added from a previous site plan. So
As
these
you
are
can
all
tell,
4
the drawings
units,
have been reused
these
a
are all
little
2
bit.
units. So you get single family, 2 units, and 4 units. So there's a transition.
Okay, that actually makes me happy, because we didn't like the new units next to us, it just didn't look right. Okay. Actually, Mr. Malloy and I got into this little discussion this afternoon. Our buildings are built in 2005, 2008, 2009, whatever. Our lighting's different, fixtures are different, everything's different on the exterior. When we build Building 7 and 8, and then the 2 interior ones that will look identical to ours, those are gonna have new exterior lighting, new modern touches. Will they go back and bring ours up to that same standard so it's all uniform? A condo association is only good as if everything is uniform. Well, our lights, everything else are old, so we're hoping that the development includes going back and updating our old buildings to make it look like the new buildings. All right? It wasn't our statement to hold off on the development, it was theirs, so. Is that something that's in the development, and is that something that's gonna be done moving forward?
We talk about this from time to time in the anticipation that we're gonna have, the day will come when we're going to break some ground and put some new buildings up. And the plan, back to 2005, was to have, I think we would call aesthetic consistency. The desire to have all the buildings look the same. It's in the interests of everybody who wants to buy, everybody who wants to sell those units, to make them as aesthetically consistent, as attractive as possible as you drive by and see that there's continuity here. That goes to things like the lights and the other amenities as well. That's not new. This didn't just suddenly pop up. But the idea of having state-of-the-art, eco-friendly lighting, what we put in 2005 was state-of-the-art for 2005 when this was originally started. But clearly, in 2021, if we can break ground this year, or 2022, if we break ground next year, the idea is to have everything with
I'll accept that as a
the
yes.
eco-friendly, I'm sorry,
Well, Bob, I'm on 5 minutes. So I'll take that as a yes. You don't have to keep going, trust me.
this is,
We also talked last time on the 5th that we asked for a little bit kumbaya moment and that we'd work together. I suggested that the HOA be turned over to the owners with a lot of contingencies. I wonder if HDC has considered that. Did you guys bring that up to Gary? Did you talk about it? I'll take that as a no.
you can speak for me when I allow you to
well-
speak for me.
Okay, so the other thing we talked about was, we're worried as owners, is HDC LLC gonna hold on to these new properties? Or are they gonna sell them? Is there anything in the development plan that says, we're gonna guarantee we're gonna sell them? Not just hold on to them and have rentals for themselves. Currently, they own 9 units. Is there anything in the plan development, in the agreement that the city is putting together that is asking the developer to sell?
Paul?
Well, there is, first of all, the development agreement isn't part of the public hearing. There is a draft being circulated back and forth with counsel for the development. There is language in there with regard to ownership. There's nothing final yet that's being presented to the council this evening, though.
Okay, I mean, again,
So I don't want to say, yes, there is, and, you know, because again, we're still negotiating the terms of the agreement, so, there's a lot of balls up in the air that
well,
things could change.
as long as it's public comment, currently, in order for us to have control over HOA, if you guys have gathered, this is not amicable. There are some adversarial things going on here. So we would like control over HOA. In order for that to happen, 75% of the units must be sold, which brings it to about 53 units. The thing is that he already owns 9, so really what we're talking about is 26 of the 34 new units have to be sold to somebody other than HDC LLC for us to gain control. So it's in our best interest, it's in the community's best interest that HDC sells those units to somebody other than anybody involved in the project. So we just want to make sure that there's something in there that's going to help us move forward. Last time, and I'll let Bob speak this time, last time Bob mentioned that HDC LLC, of those 88, or the 52 units that are undeveloped but declared properties, was paying HOA fees. He mentioned property taxes, which is not an HOA fee.
I'm just
So,
finished the one question.
Bob, would you please expand on your answer that you said HDC pays HOA fees, and what are they that they're paying?
And that'll be the last question because we're 7 minutes now.
Oh, I apologize.
No, you're fine.
I'd have to bring the numbers with me in terms of, but it's divided up by 36. We've had this conversation.
36, I'm
Well,
talking about the
let me just put it into context here for a second. The HOA's been around since 2006, and Mr. Hayes has been a homeowner since almost a year. We've had this conversation with people before him and afterward, and it's not a matter of being evasive, but we have members here who have actually sat on the board, and the accusations that this is adversarial, I recognize that Mr. Hayes and I don't necessarily get along, but I don't know that that is necessarily goes for the rest of the homeowners association. And so, again, we've talked about the idea here that we're blurring the line between the homeowners association and what we're trying to do tonight, which is to get the zoning approval and negotiate the rest of the development agreement so we can move forward. Some of those are blurred issues here. But the fact remains that the developer has paid taxes on the units that he owns consistently since this project began. So the idea that his ownership should be somehow limited, I think is, I think it flies in the face of what the city's trying to do here in terms of encouraging development and investment in the city. So I would just ask that you, into context, as this agreement continues to get negotiated. That's the starting point.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to speak at this public hearing? Paul, can you clarify the number of units, please?
Surely. I think at the last meeting, Mr. Mayor, thank you, that there was a comment with respect to there being 56 units that would result from this development. And just to clarify, there were 88 residential condominium units authorized under the 2005 agreement. And pursuant to that agreement and a memorandum of understanding entered into in 2011, a total of 9 4-unit condominium buildings were constructed, resulting in 36 current units. I think there was a comment made that there will be 9 2-unit buildings proposed under the current development for 18 2-family units and 4 4-unit buildings, resulting in a total of, that would result in 13 additional buildings and 34 additional residential condominium units altogether. So with the 36 existing units and the 34 proposed units, there would be a total of 70 units on the property rather than the 56 that was mentioned at the last meeting.
Thank you. I need to ask 3 times. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Is there anyone else that would like to speak? The meeting is adjourned. Moving on, presentation. St. Francis Days Board Member Skip Bushell to deliver a thank you and report on St. Francis Days community celebration. Thanks, Skip.
For anybody that doesn't know me, I'm Skip Buchel. I've been in the city for 40 years or so. I'm on the board for St. Francis Days, and I'm here to do a very quick talk about St. Francis Days. I want to thank everybody, and I want to give you a little brief history and then a little bit of where we're headed. So first of all, how are you holding up with that, Rick?
Good, but you should speak
Oh,
in.
sorry. Okay, first of all, sincerely, thank you. Thank you to the city, thank you to the administration, the council, all the departments. Every single one of them have been supportive and been there for St. Francis Days for, I think it's 57 years, so sincerely, thank you. When I was looking at the history, I found a little something I found kind of interesting that the council did and has lived up to for 50-some years. It's a resolution dated the 15th of June, 1965, and it pretty much just makes a resolution designating September 5th, 1965 as the first St. Francis Day. So it was kind of interesting, and some of the language in here, they're kind of long to read, but just going to read a little bit. The council does hereby establish, set aside, and designate September 5th, 1965 as St. Francis Day, and that does hereby urge and exhort, I haven't looked that up yet, I don't know what that means, but anyway, support the residents of our fair city to support wholeheartedly the celebration of St. Francis Days. Be it further resolved that the common council does hereby commit itself to full-fledged support of St. Francis Day and to the Gladiator Drum and Bugle Corps and St. Francis Association and other organizations that were involved when it was first set up. So thank you. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. You followed through. You've always been there. A lot of you have been there personally, and the city has been there. So thank you very much. Moving on a little bit with the history. Again, it's been 57 years. Last year was the only year we couldn't do it since it started due to COVID. We struggled a little bit because the majority of our fundraising was bingos, and we couldn't have any. So we were very lucky. We received a little over $7,000 in donations and money. And so thanks again. A lot of people were very much involved in getting us that support and money, so thank you. And we were able to have St. Francis Days. It was smaller, and hopefully we'll never have to have it that small again. One of the main problems we had, or main complaints, situations, the parade.
A lot of people wanted the parade, and we will do our very best to bring it back. We are actively right now out there trying to bring it back to what it was. I was doing some research and looking at some information, and over the years, very much has changed. We had up to 28 businesses and about 14 families would donate money yearly to St. Francis Days. Over the years, this has dwindled a bit for many, many reasons, and it's down to about 17 businesses and families. So we're gonna work really hard on bringing that information back to the residents and back to the businesses and try to get some communication and a continuity of communications with businesses and residents and such in the future. We have the issue about the parade, I just want to mention that a little bit, where we're going. Our parade for a bare bones kind of parade is about $6,000, right in that area. To have a kind of parade like we used to have, it would be reaching more like $10,000. And I bring up other cities not to compare it, but just to give you kind of an idea what parades can cost. I think South Milwaukee's parade, I think they budgeted $30,000 for it, and I think they spent about 32. I didn't verify that today, but I was told that, but that sounds about right. And then a major city like Milwaukee may spend $95,000, $100,000 on a parade. So being St. Francis, we're hoping that we can reach somewhere in that $10,000 range and have a good parade and represent the city and do a really good job. We're starting right now. We're open for any ideas. We're open for any conversation. Certain people have offered to support us and help us, and thank you for that. And we're going to continue working with them and moving forward, and we hope we can have that community celebration we've always had. It's been really difficult to get the old parade would have a big banner, St. Francis High School, and behind it would be all the organizations, and they'd be marching along, and then at that time, I think it was Willow Glen and just the high school pretty much, but as that, they would be behind them, and there were so many people from this city involved, and that has kind of dwindled, and we're trying to work out how to get that community involvement back into the St. Francis Days. So, like I said, the main reason I wanted to come here tonight is that we've had constant support from the city, constant support from all the departments, and we want to thank you. And moving forward, we're hoping for that support, and if we can get more from anybody or anywhere, we'd be happy to get it. So thank you very much, and I know you got a lot going, so that's it.
Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome. Well, if there's any questions or anything at any time, please call or ask.
Thank you, Skip.
Thanks.
Citizen comments? None. Consent agenda. Is there any alderperson that would like anything removed?
Mayor, I make a motion to have all the items on, 5 items on the consent agenda taken at one time.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we need to remove item 4 from the consent agenda, Paul?
Yes. No,
No, that's
That's
October.
Last week.
That was last meeting.
that's the 5th.
Not the 19th. And I know what you're thinking because we had to cancel the meeting.
Well, we didn't approve
We
the
didn't,
minutes.
yes. I was gonna
We
say
didn't
if the
approve the
min-
minutes from the meeting because it wasn't held this evening.
Oh, yes. You can carry it over to the next meeting.
Ooh, look at her showing off.
So do we need that removed or just
Yes,
carry it?
it would be, just remove that and put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Don, can you do that, please?
Make a motion to remove item number 4, minutes of the Finance Committee held October 5th, 2021, and move it to the next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Reports of committees, commissions, and boards. Action to be taken from the Licensing Committee meeting held October 19th, 2021.
Mayor, from this evening's Licensing Committee meeting, we're looking for approval for a new beverage operator's license for Christina Blazak and Callie Johnson.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Next, we have temporary extension of premise for Julie Doberson for Doby's 4136 South KK Avenue to extend to the Sisters of St. Francis of Assisi at 3221 South Lake Drive from noon until 3 p.m. on 10/23 of '21.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
And lastly, we're looking for amusement tag supplier license plus tags for Liberty Games LLC, Barry Rutherford.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
That's it from licensing, Mayor.
Thank you, Don. Action from the Board of Public Works meeting held October 14th, 2021.
Good evening, Mayor. This evening, we have one recommendation from the Board of Public Works, the approval of the 5-year capital plans for roads and sewers.
Second.
All in favor?
Oh,
Aye.
wait,
1 second, please. Any discussion? Melinda?
Thank you. I would like to just, when we were at the Board of Public Works, I forgot to include South Kinnickinnick Avenue from Howard to Lunham as a project for potentially 2023. We applied for a grant this week, and it needs to get on the 5-year capital plan. So if we could amend and add
So
that.
Rebecca, I'll amend my motion to add that to the original motion for approval as well.
I concur.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
That's it from Public Works, Mayor.
Thank you. Resolutions and ordinances. Change of zoning, 4005 South Pennsylvania Avenue. Ordinance to rezone to M2 General Industrial District with special use permit to authorize use as a contractor's yard.
Move to introduce and adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Congratulations.
Resolution of commendation for service to the city of St. Francis conferred on Pete Trost.
Move to introduce and adopt.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Discussion items with possible action. Request of FBI Administrative Officer Jeremy Matula for temporary building permit to construct seasonal walkway at the FBI field office, 3600 South Lake Drive.
Mayor, we have this discussion every year over the temporary walk covering for the FBI building. Mark, is this something that is actually gonna, I know that we said a permanent structure for that, but are we barking up a wrong tree? Are they ever gonna comply with a permanent walkway structure, or are we dealing again with the temporary every year coming to the common council right before the snow flies for permission to put up this temporary structure?
Okay, so the issue is we have met with the FBI and we have met with Mulaski Group, who built out the FBI building. And we all know that the FBI building was the building was retrofitted to the FBI. So the Mulaski Group spent a lot of money on building out the FBI in order to allow the FBI to lease that building, including building the parking ramp. With the parking ramp being built next to the building and not being part of the initial building that was built there, they didn't have any other alternative than to have an outside exit and entrance in order to get into the building. So what the FBI has done is they've requested a temporary structure to basically provide protection in the wintertime for those people using the parking lot to get to the building. And we have talked with Mulaski and the FBI about adding a structure that would connect those two so that the building and the parking lot would have a permanent structure to protect those people walking between those two facilities. The problem is that it wasn't built into their lease payments, nor was it built into the construction cost of the building. And the problem with Mulaski, according to them, is that the cost of the building was about $60 million to retrofit this building, and the assessed value of the building is about $15 million. So the Mulaski Group is heavily subsidizing the lease payments to the FBI in the use of this building. So we're kind of in a conundrum here of making it financially work for the FBI and the Mulaski Group and the city. The reason why you have temporary structure requirements within the city of St. Francis is for a few reasons, but the number one reason is to ensure that people don't use temporary structures as a substitute for permanent structures in the city. I don't think in this case that that's their intent, is that their intent was to use this as a temporary structure to circumvent putting in a permanent structure. I think that it was a combination of the retrofitting of the building and the adding of the parking ramp and the inability to, I guess, look at the weather conditions along the lake to ensure that there was going to be protection between those facilities when Mulaski built out the building. Certainly, we can enforce our ordinance and indicate to them that they have to get a temporary structure permit each and every year, or we could, as a city, allow them through the term of their lease at this location to place this temporary structure to protect people from walking between the parking ramp and the building for as long as they, maintain the lease. We certainly wouldn't want to, their current lease is they're about 5 years into their current 15-year lease. So we currently wouldn't want to discourage the FBI from releasing or renewing their lease at this location, because I think we're all proud of having the FBI in St. Francis. So that being said, what's before you tonight is a temporary permit application, but I think what staff would recommend is that we allow them to place this on an annual basis to
No, the ordinance states that if approved, the structure shall not exist for a period not to exceed 1 year from the date following approval by the Common Council.
So in that case, the council would have to revise the ordinance to make an exception for the FBI building, like we made an exception for the school district with regard to their scoreboard. We made an exception within the ordinance to allow the St. Francis High School to have a scoreboard on the football field, and we could certainly do that for this FBI premise as well within the ordinance.
So, Mark, if I could add to this, please. The grounds the council can use to deny this are very limited in our ordinance. One is, number one is may be reasonably believed to have a substantial adverse effect upon the public health and persons living in the immediate neighborhood. Not really an issue with the FBI. Safety of persons living in the immediate neighborhood, the convenience and prosperity of the immediate neighborhood. Again, not issues within the FBI. If somebody's affected by this, they're beyond a barrier that they're going to have a bigger issue than that white structure to prevent snow dam or weather issues. Number two is maybe reasonably believed to cause a substantial depreciation in the value of the property in the immediate neighborhood. I don't think this is going to affect formerly known as Cousin Center. I don't know the new name. Number three, constitutes a public or private nuisance. You can't even see this thing. You drive by there in the winter, good luck seeing the structure from the road. You probably have a better shot seeing it from Lake Michigan. Is not in the best interest of the community or is not compatible with good planning development of the area. I think being good stewards to our FBI representatives in the area is in the best interest of the community, so I would say 4 doesn't fit that either. And the fifth and last one is will not promote the health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. Again, the presence of the FBI here, I think, supports all of those health, safety, morals, and general welfare together with the chief and some of the other task force in the area, the FBI has been instrumental in taking gangs off our streets, drugs off our streets. And I think as a community, we need to be more supportive, and I don't think we should be abandoning this issue or approaching this issue every fall.
Well, right now, we'd have to, if I got this correct, we'd have to approve it just temporary, and then we'll have to work on the ordinance for the future, for next year, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Then I would make a motion to approve the request for the temporary structure.
I will second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Appointments to committees, commissions, and boards. None. Correspondence with possible action or referral. None. Unfinished business. None. Other business. None. Department heads. Gary? And I did get your name right this time. Melinda, please.
Thank you, Mayor. You do have our engineer's report in your packet. We are proceeding with the construction project over in the second district. They will be complete on time. They've made a big effort in the last 2 weeks. They finished the milling portion of the project today. Now there's binder on the first layer of asphalt on some of the streets already. Should be completing that this week, and surface should be coming next week along with the finished restoration. So it really should be wrapped up if maybe a day into November, but it'll be substantially wrapped up by the end of the month. So we're very impressed with that. Leaf collection is been slow to start, but I'm sure it's going to pick up. So we'll be working on that. And other than that, I pass.
Thank you. Chief Poplar.
Very brief. We're in the schools on a daily basis, still Fire Prevention Month. So the crews are busy with that. And we're hiring again. So our firefighter paramedic applications open up on the 25th and and close on the 12th. So they'll be open for a couple of weeks, and we're moving forward into the new year with interviews. And with that, I pass.
Thank you. Chief Hunter.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to start off by indicating that I received a formal letter from Officer Brumeyer that in January, specifically January 8th, will be his last day. He has served over 25 years of service to the city of St. Francis as a law enforcement officer. I applaud his dedication, and he will be missed when he goes. I'm still saying if he goes because it's Officer Brumeyer, and for those of you that know him, know that may not be true, but he did submit the letter. So, and he's building up north, and he deserves it. It's well deserved. He's worked very hard and done great things. We started on the department together, and I've been going through this, the changes, ebbs and flows throughout the city's last 25 plus years. Also, 4570 Amity, we discussed kind of at length during the last meeting. We've had no complaints or no issues, no violations from that residence. So we haven't had any calls for service regarding that residence except for the mail packaging, which I explained to you at the last meeting. Our Distinguished Honor Guard returned from Washington, D.C. for the Law Enforcement Memorial. They returned on Monday. They drove straight through. Detective Gilden was the Uber driver for the team, and they made it back safe and sound. Had a terrific time. Pictures will be posted to Facebook, and they did the city proud. And you'll see that in the pictures that will soon be on Facebook. Halloween, obviously coming up soon. We'll have extra patrols of these streets as always. We'll have auxiliaries also in conducting extra patrols. In the mornings, we'll have day shift going to each and every sex offender in the city, advising them what they can and cannot do. And that's basically they can do nothing. They have to leave their porch lights off. They cannot answer the door, etc. And we'll be monitoring those homes very closely. And lastly, there's regarding the schools, we've had a lot of complaints from the crossing guards and others about drivers, parents not listening to and following the warnings, the parking restrictions, etc. I want to say thank you, and it just so happens that we have two honor crossing guards with us today, Willie and his wife Annette, who are in the back, and Willie, who is a former Marine. Well, I shouldn't say former, once a Marine, always a Marine.
Right?
Bye. Number
His,
5.
Army.
his presence is well known at Howard and KK, and he does a tremendous job there. And Annette, she is over at Willow Glen, and they do a tremendous job. And we're supplementing those with patrol units when available in the mornings and afternoons. And we are citing vehicles now that they're in violations because the school letters that are going out are just not, the parents are not receiving those or taking heed of the warnings. And with that, tips will be going up also regarding Halloween safety on our website. And with that, I pass.
Thank you, Chief. Rebecca?
I don't have anything this evening, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll reserve my comments for closed session, please.
Thank you. Mark?
I'll reserve most of my comments for closed session, other than we did not have a quorum for our finance committee tonight for the budget, and we do have to set a special meeting date for Tuesday, November 30th at 7 p.m. to have a public hearing for the budget and to adopt the budget on that date. So that will be the only thing that will be on the agenda, is the public hearing and adoption of the budget.
Thank you. Debbie?
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you. Sarah?
Nothing this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Sean?
Our crossing guards. I see you, Willie, regularly at Howard Avenue. You're kind of an imposing force. Nice to see you there. I'm sure you look equally as imposing at Willow Glen. I don't drive by there after school. Skip, thank you for everything you do. I do have some ideas I'd like to share with you. I've shared with Kim. I think there's some opportunity, especially with these food trucks, if we combine them with a reason for people to gather and enjoy that in addition to another event. And Melinda, I just have one question. All the department heads are amazing as always. If the unseasonably warm weather does continue for a while, which they're telling us on the news is going to change drastically, and those people on those roads that are being prepared are delayed, would they possibly have some extra time for leaf collection without snow?
We have been out in the second district where the construction is, picking up leaves actually twice a week there to facilitate the construction, because we don't want to build leaves.
So they're throwing them in the road being constructed?
Yep, yep. We sent
Never
out letters.
mind.
We sent out letters to the entire project area instructing them, actually, they'd leave them on their terrace.
Yeah.
And then we come with our vac all and suck them off the terrace, except for Van Norman. Mark rakes them all in the street for us, so. But, no, we handled that at the beginning of leaf season. We gave instructions to everybody, and we actually send our vac all Mondays and Fridays through that area to try to, and any other time the contractor would need it, we are completely on top
So
of it.
you're way
so.
ahead. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Thank you. On that, I'll pass.
Thank you. Don?
A couple of things. First of all, crossing guards, I did 20 years at the House of Correction. I would not step out off the curb into the street. To direct traffic. I would not do that, so I commend you for that. Second of all, hidden ponds, I know there's a bunch of questions, and I know that the developers agreement is being kicked back and forth. We have issues, they have issues, and it keeps on getting redlined back and forth until we have an agreement. They have asked the city for TIF district money, which we are considering, but that is, what that does is that gives the city sort of a say-so as to what goes on in the development. Because if we're not, we don't have to TIF the development, and if we're not going to get any cooperation from Hidden Ponds developer, I don't see the need to give them any assistance. So that's all in the developer's agreement. So that's all I have this evening.
Thank you, Don. For our crossing guards, I'd personally like to say thank you. You are truly our unsung heroes. And I too will save the rest of my comments for closed session.
We'll convene into closed session pursuant to statute, section 19.851E, for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Items for discussion, purpose of purchase of property in TID 4, potential TID 5 development incentive, and pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 19.851G, conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved. Item for discussion, 2525 East Crawford Avenue and 3770 South Pennsylvania Avenue.
I make a motion for roll call vote to go to
Second.
closed session.
Alderwoman Calderon,
Aye.
Alderman Brickner,
Aye.
Alderman Fire,
Aye.
Alderwoman Fliss.
Aye.
We will take a 2-minute recess, and we'll be in closed session then.
That will be in the side
Do we have
room.
a second?
Yep, in the West Conference Room.
Did we